Hey, Menopause Metabolism Makeover Group. This week I am discussing how to implement all of these great ideas. I know it's one thing to just kind of read my blog posts or articles earlier in the week and then listen to the videos to like, yeah, that's really great, I need to do that. But how do we actually execute that? How do we implement it? How do we get it into our lives? So one of my favorite statements is baby steps. We don't want to send the first grader off to junior year in high school, right? Like it's not appropriate. We have to start out. So, you could have, a PhD in one thing, but you might not have any knowledge about another topic, right? So we have to understand that. And I think sometimes it's difficult when we think like, well, I'm pretty knowledgeable. I know things, so I should be able to do this, right? Well, you know what? I am fairly knowledgeable, and I really talk to my bookkeeper. She's like, this is a disaster, right? So there are things that we do not do well, and we need guidance, and we have to go baby steps, right? We just can't jump in, wherever that we made up is appropriate, right? We have to start at the beginning. So as we go, let's say we're going to focus on sleep, because I think a lot of us have sleep disruption, and I am big on our sleep guide and creating a sleep routine that starts, at least a half an hour before your bedtime. So the first thing that we want to do, I'm just using sleep today as an example. Let's say I need to get 8 hours of sleep and I need to be up at 6 a.m. Well, I'm gonna make sure that I am asleep by 10 so that I can get my at least 8 hours. Because if you ever get your sleep details, it might tell you that you're in bed for 8 hours, but it'll tell you like, oh, you're only slept for 6.5, right? So it'll give you that. So we want to give ourselves the opportunity to come at least close to 8 hours of sleep. So if I need to get up at 6, I need to be getting into bed by 9:30, 10 at the latest. And if that's true, I want to start my sleep routine at 9:30 at the latest. And I'm going to create a routine that tells my brain day after day after day that this is what we do to power down before sleep happens. And if we can get into the routine, then we will help ourselves along that, and we'll just magic presto fall asleep at 10 o'clock and get our 8 hours of sleep. However, as we implement that, we can't just create this plan and be like, oh, well, at 9 o'clock, I turn off all electronic devices, and then I put on some soothing music, and I might even put on some tonal meditation stuff to calm my brain. And then I go and I do all of my stuff in the bright light in the bathroom, and then I'm going to come out and I'm going to do some lavender in a carrier oil, massage that into the bottom of my feet, and then I'm going to sit eyes closed for some breath exercises, get myself into bed and do a visualization and drift off peacefully into my 8 hours of slumber. Now that sounds great, and it's an excellent example of what to do that you could do as something to get yourself ready for sleep time. But if you were to try to execute that all at one time, I don't know that, if you're accustomed to staying up later and watching a show, now you have to turn it off. You might feel like, oh, I totally got robbed. I just sat down and finished my day and I only got 10 minutes to watch my show. That's not enough. So you have to bargain with yourself. You might need to negotiate. You've got to start there, okay? Then, potentially you might forget to go and do your stuff. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do the lavender and the feet thing. You're like, oh gosh, I forgot to wash my face and brush my teeth. I gotta go back. So all of that, right, is going to happen. So what we want to do is pick one thing out of your routine. It might even be just pick the bedtime. Okay, so baby steps. And once you get that step in place 3 to 4 times out of 7, then you can layer in something else on the next week. But put all your efforts on the first step first. When we start to do these habit changes, when we diversify, we kind of open up and we're trying to do all of these things. You guys have heard me say this before, that goes with everything that we do, right? When we try to do nutrition and weight and stress and sleep all at the same time, we wind up with, spreading our efforts everywhere, and we're not really making any progress. We get frustrated. So start baby steps, This is how we're going to implement. And if you guys have any questions about specifically like what you're going to implement, just shoot me a message and I can help you get a start point. All right, thanks for tuning in, MMM Group. Let me know how it all goes. And of course, if you need any help, I am here for you guys. Have a great week.